It is an incontrovertible fact that carbon dioxide is critical for all organic life. This is a curious fact, given that we are repeatedly told that we are producing too much carbon dioxide and that it is dangerous. Perhaps even more curious for farmers who are aware that plant yields improve by up to 40% in an environment of enriched carbon dioxide. And perhaps because carbon dioxide has been completely misunderstood, respiratory physiology has also been misunderstood. But Dr. Buteyko realized that our lungs and respiratory system do not simply pump oxygen in and carbon dioxide out, but act as a complex gas exchange and reservoir system to maintain very particular gas levels for the optimal functioning of the organism. At first, Dr. Buteyko was perplexed. How could the whole of clinical medicine have missed this? Actually, it hadn't, at least not completely. Some of the founding fathers of modern scientific medicine knew of the importance of carbon dioxide. Medical scientists such as Bohr, Foster, Henderson, Hope Seyler, Magnus, Maischer, Pfluger, Spallanzani, and Zuntz. Here's what the Encyclopedia of Medicine says on the subject of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the chief hormone of the entire body. It is the only one that is produced by every tissue and that probably acts on every organ. And carbon dioxide is, in fact, a more fundamental component of living matter than is oxygen. Yandell Henderson, Encyclopedia of Medicine, 1940. Most certainly, there was a profound understanding around the fact that a deficiency of carbon dioxide will cause disease. But for a variety of reasons, the technical appreciation of carbon dioxide didn't translate into practical treatment. With the exception of clinical work done by L.J. Henderson and a few others who used it therapeutically with spectacular success. But they met with tremendous professional criticism from the emerging patent drug medical advocates who obstructed and suppressed their work. It was as though a decision had been made at the highest echelons that all advances in medicine would only arise from drug and surgery-based interventions. All other ideas, regardless of their scientific validity or positive results, would be crushed. And this is what happened. These days, carbon dioxide is commonly considered a waste gas or even a pollutant. And nothing could be further from the truth. It turns out that carbon dioxide regulates the organism's uptake of oxygen. This paradoxical principle is known as the Bohr law and was discovered at the turn of the century by the Danish physiologist Christian Bohr. Carbon dioxide in the form of carbonic acid is also the main regulator of the organism's pH, or acid-alkali balance. Carbon dioxide also regulates the aperture of all vessels, including brain vessels, bronchivessels, and heart vessels, because of its effect on smooth muscle tissue. From a systems point of view, carbon dioxide regulates the respiratory, cardiovascular, digestive, nervous, hormonal, and immune systems. Therefore, a deficiency must cause dysfunction in one form or another. At this point, a serious question arises. How can a single substance play such a diversified role? Within the human organism, carbon dioxide shunts from one form to another, from carbon dioxide gas to carbonic acid, carbonate, bicarbonate, and carbamate, and in these diverse forms exerts diverse influence. Even biochemists find describing its attributes and actions in simple terms more than challenging. An obvious question arises: how might we accumulate carbon dioxide, and what is the mechanism? More importantly, how can we tell if we have a deficiency of carbon dioxide? Dr. Buteyko's research showed that our breathing pattern determines our level of carbon dioxide. And just like body temperature, pulse, and blood pressure, there are physiological textbook norms for respiration, wherein a significantly higher or lower value is indicative of disturbance. The norm, or ideal, for body temperature is 98.6. For pulse, 60 to 70. For blood pressure, 120/80. And the norm for respiration is 3 to 4 liters per minute. If we breathe or ventilate above this amount, our levels of carbon dioxide will fall, eventually resulting in an accumulated deficiency. It was obvious to Dr. Buteyko that those suffering with chronic disease overventilated or breathed above the recommended norms. In other words, they chronically hyperventilated, often breathing 3, 4, and even up to 10 times above what is recommended. And this was the cause behind their low level of carbon dioxide and subsequent chronic disease. To this day, we never ever see a person who suffers with any kind of chronic disease who breathes within the recommended norms of 3 to 4 liters per minute. They all, without exception, chronically hyperventilate or overbreathe. As a medical doctor, Dr. Buteyko naturally looked towards a drug, a surgical procedure, or some kind of device that would either normalize the breathing or level of carbon dioxide. It was a fruitless exercise. One could temporarily regulate the breathing with morphine and other drugs, and one could improve carbon dioxide levels with certain mechanical devices. But inevitably, the breathing pattern would rebound to its previous state, and more often than not, with additional compensatory ventilation. He further investigated the physiological dynamics of the respiratory system and came up against what he believed was the key: the respiratory center. The respiratory center is located in the medulla oblongata part of the brain, and this little understood gland regulates our ventilation. It turns out that mastering the breathing pattern comes down to mastering the respiratory center.